think about what you do in a way of what problems can I solve? That's the first paradigm shift. What bleeding problems do business owners have that me just plugging in what I do without having to thrash and multitask and do something different for every person, just doing what I do every day, doing what I do best? What bleeding problems can I solve for people?
Welcome to the $1 Million Agency. I am super excited for the guest today. Chris Moore is going to join us today. Chris is a very close friend of mine and also a business partner in our coaching program. One of my favorite people that I've ever met. One of the favorite people on the planet. Really excited. Chris Moore, welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Life is good. I'm blessed. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Excellent. Chris, I know all about you and I'm excited to share, some of the brilliance that when people meet you, they inevitably see. But let's start off with where are you from and how did this all start? How did you get to where you are now?
Well, my journey is as unique as my fingerprint, right? Just like yours. And I think that's where the magic is I've had a really interesting background. One of my business partners, Carl, tells me, Chris Moore, he's like jack of all trades, master of them all. That's a compliment to hear someone say something like that. I've literally done everything you can think of. And I think that's kind of where a lot of my successes come from, is my vast perspective and my ability to see things from so many different angles and having experience in so many different industries. I've done sales full time for quite a long time. I teach sales every single day, marketing. I've run brick and mortar businesses. I've done management. I've sold real estate. I've sold pretty much everything you can think of. I've owned agencies. I've owned coaching businesses. I've owned professional service businesses, gyms, entertainment. I've just seen a lot, right? And I think having that wide perspective and going through all of those different experiences has led me to where I am today. I think that combination uniquely of everything I've gone to has been building me up for this moment my entire life. And before we dive too deep into it, part of my philosophy with just my kids is I want them to experience as much as humanly possible, because I think as a human, we are not able to determine what we love and what fills our cup and what we want to do with our life until we've experienced enough things. So I feel blessed, Patrick, in general, that I've gone through the journey I've gone through. I mean, I can dive in as deep as you want, but that's really it. It's just I've done everything. And it's led me to the point where I've been able to combine all my experiences, all my wisdom, knowledge, failures together and stockpile resources and put myself in a position where I can leverage my businesses and my knowledge and my ability to impact others and make a living doing it. So I really, truly feel like I'm blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you're sharing there is what I've experienced of you, is you and I going back and forth on strategies and business decisions. I've witnessed you firsthand at grabbing strategies and referencing things that it would be unusual for somebody else to be able to pull from that same type of deck. But Chris, let's change gears for a second. Who is Chris Moore, and what do you own several businesses? What are those businesses? And you said you spend your time coaching. What type of coaching programs are you involved in?
Yeah. So who is Chris Moore? I'm really just a fanatic. I really have a big mission. And I align myself with people like yourself and with Carl and a lot of my other business partners, Ross and Jared, and people who also share that mission. I think that's important. But I really just want to help people. My 3 guiding principles is to teach, guide, and mentor. I feel like if I'm doing those things every day, then I'm on the right track, and success and money and everything else that I need will follow. Businesses, I have a pretty wide portfolio, started a long time ago, but we're pretty well diverse. We have brick and mortar businesses that don't make a lot of money, but they're tremendous resources for the community. I've got the businesses that make me the most money, which is the online coaching companies that I'm a part of. And I also have some professional services companies. We own a bowling alley. We own a Ninja Warrior gym. I was in real estate for a long time and had a firm with a couple partners. We just do a lot of different things. And right now I have equity in quite a few companies. I think probably over 20 at this moment. And a lot of them contribute a little bit every month towards my income, and a couple of them contribute quite a bit. Besides that, I do identify, essentially, if you want to use that language, Patrick, as an investor. At the end of the day, my goal is to leverage my resources, my time, money, and wisdom to make me more resources. So I'm getting away from trying to just punch a clock and work hard in the business forever, but I want my investments to continue to compound and grow without me. That's in business acquisitions, that's in real estate, that's in people, that's in stockpiling resources and capabilities. And that's what I'm really focused on. And then lastly, coaching. What am I coaching? So I coach about 4 different industries just about every day. So number one, we have our own sales agency. We have lots and lots of salespeople that work for us across all our companies. So I train a lot of salespeople, selling a wide variety of things. I love it. It's probably my favorite thing I do. You and I together are partners, as well as Jeff, in a coaching business where we have a program where we teach marketing agency owners, which is a business I was in for 6 years, very passionate about it. And I think they need our help quite a bit. I also teach business acquisitions with Carl Allen at Dealmaker Wealth Society. That's one of our companies and I'm a partner in, and we have quite a few students, over 18,000 currently, teaching people how to buy already profitable existing small businesses. And then lastly, I do work in the real estate space a little bit. We own a real estate coaching company. And then my course myself launches this month, Patrick, called Equity Partner. And what I specialize in is something called consulting for equity, which is where I essentially work with people who have a skill set. They have a superpower. They have experience. They have knowledge. They're deep into one focused area or industry, and they want to learn how to take that. And instead of having to go out and start a business or buy a business, instead of working for someone else, they can channel their superpower and learn how to position themselves correctly to become an equity partner in someone else's company and not have to worry about learning how to buy a business and learn everything there is to know about being a business owner, but instead staying in their lane, staying focused, leveraging their superpower and matching that superpower or skill directly with a bleeding problem of an existing business, and then teach them how to offer you equity in their company. That's what I teach. That's what I do.
That piece right there is it's a really good stepping stone to somebody that's had success in the digital marketing space. Do you agree?
Huge. Digital marketing, unless it's super niche, is what we call a horizontal skill set. And let me explain what that means. Essentially, a horizontal skill set is when you are not a vertically skilled person where you've done medical manufacturing your entire life. You're really, really good at this one thing and you work with this one type of business. But instead, you have the ability on a horizontal skill set to really be effective and help lots of different businesses, like being a growth marketer, a digital marketer. Like, it's very powerful. So yes, most of the people who come to us with a marketing background are able to really, really leverage their ability to help businesses grow and solve bleeding problems very effectively.
That's so exciting. Working with digital marketers and being one, and working with these guys and coaching them for years and interacting with them on a daily basis. We get stuck in this idea that, hey, I've got to try to create revenue for this client. And we sometimes forget that the value of this skill set goes far beyond just your ability to sign a client for $2,000, $3,000 a month and then, help their business grow, right? This is a foundational business skill set that is needed. I was at one of your events, right? I was at your Dealmaker event where all these people are purchasing businesses and almost no one in the room had the digital marketing skill set. And I think it was you, like, hey, you're kind of the golden goose in here, right? All of these companies would want to partner with you. And for those marketers out here that are listening to it, this is how you go to the next level, right? It's not just like stacking clients so that you have a high MRR. We can start to build wealth in other ways, in ways that can go on for generations and can far exceed what we can make just from like a normal client relationship.
I think one of the things you said that's really important, and I'd like to touch on that if possible, is what do business owners actually want? Like, think about, as a digital marketer, you have the ability to help someone grow their business. You have the ability to help them market. You can fix their marketing campaigns. You can take successes and proven campaigns and strategies you've done for tons of people and simply channel that and implement it for somebody else. Like, I think it's important to stop and say, okay, with these skill sets, first of all, what are my ambitions? How high can I reach leveraging these skill sets? And then also understanding what business owners want. I think if you don't know what business owners want, that's where it gets fuzzy, right? People don't really understand, how can I leverage what I do in exchange for equity in someone's company? And the answer is, you need to start with knowing what business owners want and then like literally matching and solving those bleeding problems, right? So if we can talk about that for a second, Patrick, business owners want several things. Number one, they don't always want money. I want you to know that. A lot of times business owners are more stressed out than anything else. They want to relieve stress. They want to spread out risks. They want to get their time back. A lot of people in business ownership got into owning a business rather than working for somebody else because they wanted what? The benefits of business ownership, right? They wanted time and location freedom. They wanted to be able to have the ability to create wealth, which they can't do trading time for dollars. And a lot of people, money is not the problem. The problem is the fact that they don't have the benefits of business ownership that they were looking for. So they're looking for someone to potentially take off one of the multiple hats they're wearing. Like, Patrick, think about one of the businesses you own. You're still wearing multiple hats. Like, the idea of finding somebody who is the best you've ever seen in your life at doing this one thing, it's your pain in the ass for you. We call it the PETA factor, pain in the ass factor. PETA is a 5 out of 5. And you have the ability to bring somebody in. They take that over. They're going to absolutely crush it. You know they're going to predict success. And you're willing to probably even give them a cut in the business to take that off your plate, take to the next level, and take it far past whatever you could do, right? It's so powerful to remember that. So business owners want more money, obviously, want more revenue, more profit, stronger profit margins. They want to hand off responsibility. They want their time back. They want to dilute their risk position. Sometimes people get big and they're like, wow, this is getting too risky for me. I mean, some people want to expand to new markets. They want to expand to new geographics, new services, new clients. Sometimes people just need an integrator. Like, you're a great visionary integrator combo like me, Patrick, where you can actually execute too. But a lot of people are just, they can't even help themselves. They're just such visionaries. They've got adult executive function ADD. They're in tons of different directions. They just need somebody to organize their thoughts and help them execute. So I think if you're talking about marketing agency owners specifically, and people on this podcast listening to this, I mean, think about what you do in a way of what problems can I solve? And I think that's the first paradigm shift. What bleeding problems do business owners have that me just plugging in what I do without having to thrash and multitask and do something different for every person, just doing what I do every day, doing what I do best? What bleeding problems can I solve for people?
Absolutely. We see this all the time, right? And marketing agency owners sometimes we're talking with their clients, and we start to realize that they don't have some basic structures in their business. And we know how to handle that stuff. But for some reason, it's not the natural inclination for the agency owners to go and help them solve that problem for them. It's like, hey, they don't answer the phone very well. And we know that, hey, we've got voice over IP phone systems, and we can find people to answer the phones, potentially from different countries that speak great English, but that's not the main service. So then we stay out of that lane. But that is a big problem for business owners. And if we start to approach these businesses as like, what is this person's bleeding problem that I know how to fix? Like, we're providing value that they didn't sign up for, and we're really differentiating ourselves from a standard marketing agency at that point.
I would agree. I think there's two ways to look at what I call solving the next problem, right? That's that concept of, I'm going to niche in this one industry. I'm going to have this offer. But I think to really raise your lifetime customer value and your average transaction value monthly per client, you've got to learn how to solve the next problem. So I think learning how to do what I teach in the Equity Partner Program is like giving you another tool in your tool belt. Rather than just creating another offer or a bolt-on offer and getting them to spend more money with you each month, you also can start positioning yourself in a very different way, where I see that I've been able to bring you a lot of lead flow. We've already really helped your rankings, both on the local level with Google Maps, as well as your search engine results in the regular Google. We've gotten you much better on-page conversion. We're constantly getting more market share for the demand that's already out there. Your phone's ringing off the hook, right? But the problem is what's holding you back from getting to the next level is it's just you're missing the sales processes and the systems and things like that. And I think this is the pivot. This is the special moment, Patrick, is learning how to position yourself correctly, not just as selling that as a service, but bringing on a partnership and say, listen, our agency at this point, we're not actually bringing on any more clients. Instead, we're shifting away from bringing on a whole bunch of clients. We want to niche down and focus on 5 clients only, work with these clients a lot closer, and be able to be their partner and bring them to the next level, taking everything we've learned from all the best practices of having hundreds of clients over the years. We've compiled that. We have our own systems and processes where we can plug what we do into your business as your partner. We want to have liability. We want to have risk. We want to share that with you as well as upside. Let's take you together to an exit. Let's all make tons of money. That's one way a lot of people are doing it. We have a lot of agency owners inside of our protege community who are doing that, where instead of taking on more clients, they say, hey, listen, I'm no longer for hire. At this stage in our company, we're only working with businesses as their partner, helping them get to exit, helping them put all the best practices in play, and helping them greatly accelerate their growth. If you want to have that conversation, I'd love to talk to you about that. If that's not a good fit for what you're looking for, that's fine as well. And I think that goes back to what I said a minute ago. Like, what do business owners want? At the end of the day, when they go to hire a marketing company, all they want is predictability, number one. Number two, they want to feel like they're investing with their marketing budget, not gambling it. So they want to go to a specialist who's going to say, yes, I'm going to crush it. I have a track record. I've already worked with people in this exact scenario. We crush it again and again. But what else they may want is they also want the peace of mind. They also want growth. And they're not looking at a marketing agency owner originally, Patrick, as that full solution. But if you have the chops to be the full solution, you can work your way into equity pretty quickly. Like, I know you, and I have lots of conversations, and someone calls you, and you call me like once a month, Patrick. I'm not sure if you're tracking this. I track it in our friendship journal right here. You call me at least once a month with somebody who offered you equity. It happens to you about at least once a month, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think because where you are in your world, people see you. They're like, wow, I've seen what you've done. I see your success level. I see your capabilities. I see you've got the team. I need that in our business. And I think that is the magnetism that's so special. When someone needs you more than you need them, or it starts with that magic moment of them like, hey, can I pick your brain? Hey, can you take a look at this? Hey, what would it take? What would have to be true for us to work together? Hey, can I hire you to do this? Like, if you're starting to get those conversations like you do a lot, like I do a lot, you're on the right track. And you just need to learn how to position yourself differently as an agency owner. And you can literally get equity in people's companies.
The first time we had this conversation, it had never even occurred to me. And now it's something with these conversations. I don't know if it's a result of the positioning that's happening, or like now that I know this is that I'm aware of this like progression, that I'm starting to like, see these opportunities on like a more conscious level. But yeah, it's really exciting. When you're in the same industry for a while, the people that get burned out feel like we're not making any progress, we're not learning. But when we start, there's like, hey, this opens up a whole nother opportunity, a whole nother area to learn, right? I mean, I've been to some of your events, and it's hard for me to keep up with some of the stuff that's going on because it's just a whole new world for me. I haven't been exposed to this on that level.
I think about the concept from the book Emyth by Michael Gerber, right? You have the technician, you have the manager, and you have the entrepreneur. And I think a lot of business owners, especially here in this space, our space, the marketing agency, they started as gifted freelancers or gifted technicians, right? And what's interesting about the journey when you're a really great technician, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great manager. Most of them aren't. Most of you aren't. No offense. Also, most of you probably aren't a great entrepreneur, right? Because you get good and passionate about doing this really one thing very, very well. And then you have to kind of learn and grow and evolve. And I think the reason why a lot of agency owners struggle, Patrick, is not because they're not good at the work. It's because they're not good at managing, or they're not good at entrepreneurship, or they're not good at prospecting, or they're not good at marketing themselves, although they're great for marketing other people. And I'll tell you where learning how to get equity partnerships and consulting for equity comes into play. Is you don't have to be a great business owner to do this. You just have to do great work at what you do. You just have to have a great track record, learn how to position yourself, learn how to have the right proof, the right pedigree, have the right pitch, and then create these moments of people saying, I know that you can solve my problem. How can we work together? And then you just have that magic moment where you say, listen, I only market for companies that I own. I only work with companies that I'm a partner in. At this stage in my career, I'm no longer for hire. And it's so crazy how well that works. And if you can do it at the right time, and you can do this without having to learn entrepreneurship, you can do this without having to learn how to be the best manager, but instead you can continue to stay in your lane and niche down into what you do best. And I think that's where the magic of what I teach comes into play, is because there's nothing else that exists that's that powerful. Because a lot of things, Patrick, to get to the next level, especially in marketing agencies, you have to learn everything. Like, you're a great project manager, you're a developer, you're a manager in general of people, you're great at recruiting and hiring people, you're great at prospecting, you're great at vetting talent. Like, you've had to learn the whole thing. And that's why you're such a great coach. But there's so many people who start as as a technician, that were never born to be entrepreneurs. So I think this kind of gives freelancers, marketers, agency owners, maybe who've been struggling a little bit, another way to channel what they do best, get paid top dollar for it, be appreciated, and have the benefits of business ownership. So to me, for those reasons, I think it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And you kind of just opened my eyes to a different angle, a different perspective of this. Is like, we think as digital marketers, this idea of consulting for equity, and we get to be a partner in these people's company, and we're gonna help them with this marketing piece. But guess what? They're our partner too. And we don't have to carry all the heavy stones because they've already built a business on it. There's a lot of stuff that they have in place, and we don't have to do great at the things that they're great at. They've already got those pieces dialed in. Most of these contractors, they're not great at SEO. They're not great at marketing and understanding like this customer journey to the same way that a marketing company is. So you get to shine and get paid for the skill set that you have, and you get to benefit from this 1 + 1 = 3 situation, right? And from the business owner's perspective, it's kind of like, I heard this great analogy one time. It's better to own like 40% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape, right? And that's what we can bring to them. We can turn that grape into a watermelon for them when they got the right processes in place. Like you had mentioned, some of the sales processes and just like giving them enough leads so they have the opportunity to grow and hire the best people.
And would you agree, though, at the end of the day, understanding the true bleeding problems, as well as really understanding what desires the business owners have, if you can just learn how to match what you do to get them what they want, everything is on the table. And that's where...
Yeah, absolutely.
People just don't even think about it. And what's important to note, like if this is something you want to do or try, you got to know that you've got to find the right business owner partners in the right way. Some of them are already in your Rolodex. Some of them are already your clients. But you got to find a business owner, especially these home service business owners, Patrick, who are already in the mindset of collaboration. They're in the mindset of understanding they need help. They're not too prideful to ask for help. They're literally going to events and masterminds and meetups, and they're part of groups because they're searching for solutions, right? And I think when you try to do it the other way, when you're just going randomly to people and not finding them in this like congregation setting, like we teach this method of finding these business owners, like go to where they're congregating, I want to go find them all in one place where they're already in the mindset of, I'm looking for help. I'm looking to get to the next level. I'm looking to add innovation to my business. They're looking for talent. Like that's where you find people. Like imagine if you own a concrete coatings and marketing agency. Imagine if you went to a concrete coatings industry event conference and you're there and you're showing up, you're engaging, you're interacting, you're adding value, you're setting up times for follow-ups and appointments to talk to people. You're giving with no strings attached. You're showing people that you can solve their problem. You're flexing, as I call it. Demonstration builds reputation. You're leading with value and building relationships based off of you helping them kind of figure out what's going on in their business and seeing if you can solve it. Like it's so powerful to go that direction rather than trying to go to all these people, your first conversation and telling people like, hey, I only work for equity. Like that's going to get you a slap in the face. They're going to laugh at you, right? So I want to say that because if you think about consulting for equity and learning how to get equity partnerships, but you don't trust the process that I can teach and really follow the process, you're going to be led to failure again and again. It's a game of inches, just like everything else. But I think what makes it so unique is you don't have to learn anything new. That's the key. Patrick, to get into anything in life, you go and hire a coach or take a course, like you're trying to learn something new. This is the first time I've ever seen it where you don't have to learn anything new. You already know everything you need to know. The only thing that I'm going to teach you is how to position yourself correctly, get in front of the right people, put yourself in the position where they're primed and ready for you to be their equity partner and for them to offer you equity. Like I'm pretty bullish on it. I'm pretty excited. I think you can smell the passion and hear the passion in my voice, but I think it's huge because there's so many people out there that are extremely talented. They go into agencies. Some succeed, some don't. But what's interesting is the people who succeed in agencies are not often the best marketers. They're the best business owners. But you may be the best marketer, and that's okay, but you're never going to get seen. You're never going to succeed at the highest level. until you learn some of the stuff that I teach. It's like how to position yourself, how to set yourself up for success, and how to help find the right people who are already looking for you and people who will appreciate you, who will pay you really well. You can have the benefits of business ownership without having to learn everything there is to know about owning a business. So I'll shut up now, Patrick, but you got me excited.
No, I love it. And I know from knowing you, you really don't do anything that you're not passionate about. You've gotten to a spot where you get to pick what you want to do and you focus on the stuff that you want to do. And I love seeing you get wound up about this stuff or anyone. It's just like this special moment when someone gets really excited and then they're in their zone of genius. And I know from being around you at these events, this is absolutely yours. Going to these events, I remember the first event I went to in Las Vegas, and I think it was Carl that was up on stage, and he was like, the stats that were coming across is only 1 out of 15 businesses for sale get sold each year. And the baby boomers are the primary demographic. So over the next 5 years, that number, I think, is supposed to go to 1 out of 24 and one out of 25, which makes us one of the best opportunities in history for business acquisition. And to have this marketing skill set, like the conversation can start off as consulting for equity, but as some of these people, they go to retirement, like they're looking for somebody that can take weight off their shoulders and predict success. It's not something that is one-sided. It's very mutually beneficial for them to take you on as a partner, right? And we get excited about it where, I think speaking as like for digital marketers, where it's like, oh man, this opportunity to take equity in this company, it's more than that. It's an opportunity to be partners with somebody and to grow an enterprise together with somebody that already has a track record of building something. So I love it. I am very excited to move more and more in this direction. And your next event coming up, like hearing more about this and the strategies and the people. Chris, you have this saying that really resonates with me. And it's this like, you are a zebra, and you tell a story. Where did that story come from?
Yeah, I'll tell the story. It's not my saying; it's Clayton's saying. He has this way with words. Like he speaks in analogies. And one day, Clayton, my friend, came into me, and it was in 2018. He said, "Chris, you're like a zebra in a room full of horses." He said, "People just don't quite get you. You're different. Like I'm gonna go find you a room full of zebras." And he took me to a marketing funnel automation, MFA Live 2018 with Todd Brown, Orlando, Gaylord Palms. Ironically, that's where I met Carl. Ironically, in the exact same room, I'm hosting a 500-person event next weekend. So, it's all how it comes full circle. But I found my room full of zebras. I found people with my ambitions who spoke like me, talked like me, who are looking to do things like me. And that goes right back to what we were talking about a minute ago. I think finding large groups of the perfect partners for you all in one place is the magic sauce. That's part of it. You got to find them. And I think that mindset of collaboration is absolutely everything. So back to you, Patrick. So a zebra in a room full of horses. I mean, you got to find your room full of zebras.
Yeah, that's right. And this is what you're talking about when you're talking about like putting yourself in this group. So business owners come in a lot of different shapes and sizes and mindsets, right? We could think about a business owner as like, maybe there's a guy around the corner who owns a 7-Eleven gas station and he works there himself, versus like somebody who's attending an event and they're trying to learn different skills. They're trying to network and connect. Like these people are growth oriented. They have that growth mindset. And when you match up with somebody who has an opposing skill set or a complementary skill set that's in a different industry, this is where it kind of can be that 1 + 1 = 3, right? But you've got to figure out, how do you put yourself, Chris, you're talking about putting yourself in a situation. What's some advice for people out there listening on how they can put themselves in a situation where they find people that are other zebras, but maybe from a different industry?
Lots to unpack. Number one, take my course because it's a lot. Like it's 50 modules plus live interaction, like role playing is a lot that goes into it. But right out of the gate, I think learning how to find the right rooms to get into is number one. But once you get there, what do you do with it? To me, it's always been about how do I create a moment where someone looks at me and says, this is the person I've been looking for. This is the person that can solve my problem. And the reason why I came to this event to begin with is because I was searching for something. I didn't know what it was necessarily. Maybe it was a tactic. Maybe it was a strategy. Maybe it was AI. Maybe it was a person. Maybe it was my next partner. Maybe it was my next employee. Like they went there looking for something. And if you can start to learn how to put yourself in the right rooms, demonstration builds reputation. I say that all the time. Flex, show them that you can solve their problem. Become a master at consulting, learning the art of discovery, finding pain, and really understanding what people want. I think that's the key. But if you can show people and add value, build a relationship with them that's literally built off the back of solving problems, adding value, not looking to get something in return, you're going to create those moments where people are like, how can we work together? How can we collaborate more? Can you take a look at this? Hey, I've got this issue. Like, when people think you're the smartest person in the room, or you're the person who they've been looking for a long time, it's a really easy game. It really is. The problem is when you go into this and you try to do this when you're not world class and you're not somebody who's proven and has a track record and you've got your pitch down. But that's why people come to me, is because I will help you gain that authority. I will help you position yourself correctly. I'll tell you exactly what to say word for word. I'll tell you exactly where to find the right people. I'll teach you exactly what to do when you get there, no matter your budget. So there's not a magic sauce there. I don't have an exact thing, but I want you to think about, this is not a poser's game. If you don't have the ability to influence change in someone's business and you don't have the ability to solve a problem that someone has, like, it's not going to really work for you. But that'd be my biggest advice to begin with, right?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think in this, like, this digital marketing space, we can create a facade that looks like we're successful with different things, right? We can show screenshots of this and that, but unless you have the chops, this is not going to play out well, right? Unless you have the ability to predict success, like, we're going to hit a hitch here. So you got to spend some time focusing on that, and then you're ready for this level 2. And we've seen this there's people in our coaching program, and I imagine in some of your other coaching programs, where this is a great fit, and then there's others that we're not ready yet, right? We've got to spend some time growing underground before we can, like, shoot up and be ready. This is kind of you proceed to this level if you've worked through the other levels. You can't jump to the last level of the video game and expect to have the skills to defeat the boss, right?
100%. Yeah, younger people that haven't even had enough time to grow a gray hair, it's not as easy of a thing for you. With that being said, there's a book I love. It's by John Acuff, Jonacuff. It's called Start, and it's called Start from Average to Awesome. And he's one of the guys who's like on the Dave Ramsey book circuit. He was a big speaker, and I think he was like a Christian blogger that got real popular and started writing books. But in his book, he talks about how, interestingly enough, we're in this technological age, Patrick, where someone in their early 20s can be the master. Before, with the traditional world we had and the traditional generational cycles, like in your 20s, you're learning and you're experiencing. In your 30s, you're better and you're starting to get into management and you're starting to help people and teach people and do the job. In 40s, you're even more into the management. 50s, you're starting to get into mastery. In 60s, you're at the top of your game and you retire. But the Start book talks about how technology has been able to help people in their 20s become the mastery that it used to take until their 60s, right? So I think one thing I keep in mind is, like, I know one of my buddies, we have a company together, and he does sales management, recruiting and training, and he has a client who's from, like, Romania, who's in his very early 20s. They're doing $1 million to $2 million a month, Patrick, in sales. He's an absolute Jedi ninja, like, insane. Technology, the internet, has allowed people to ascend so much faster. Look at Mr. Beast, like somebody like that. Like, he didn't have to take 40 years to master his craft and finally get to his highest paid point in his career. Like, he's created generational wealth by 22 years old. So I don't want anybody who's young to feel discouraged. I want you instead to say, how do I get so damn good at what I do that I can open up so many more opportunities than I currently have? Like, if you read the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about the concept of mastery. Mastery doesn't take 40 years. Mastery takes 10,000 hours of execution. There's nothing you can master until you've seen enough problems happen or you've experienced it again and again until it becomes second nature. And it's like you can do it on autopilot. You know it like the back of your hand. Like, that's what mastery comes from. And you can do that literally by age 21, 22. So Don't be discouraged if you haven't been around the sun as many times as somebody else. Don't feel like no one will take you seriously. Give you a quick story, Patrick. 25 years old. I guess that was 2012. Maybe I was a little bit older than that, but I got into real estate. I couldn't even grow a beard. I was selling luxury homes, working with my mom, and I had this imposter syndrome. Why would someone in their 50s buy a multi-million-dollar home from me? And then I realized that I don't have to feel that way. I was an absolute expert. I had written best-selling books on the subject. I had sold more houses than most other people do in their first 10 years in my first year. I was a freaking boss, right? And I realized that I had the ability to shine and not let the fact that I was young or I couldn't even grow facial hair or there's no way I could be this good. I just got started. Like, I didn't let anybody even know I was new, Patrick. I owned it from the very beginning. So there's a lot of young people out there that can do this. But I think more than anything, don't worry about that. Worry about getting so damn good at what you do, where you can predict success. You can be like Babe Ruth, point to the fence. I knock out of the park. If these things are true, I'm going to crush it. And then learn how to put yourself in front of the right people. And you can make as much money as you possibly want in life. Literally, there's no ceiling. And I'll tell you, all the older people out there, men and women, business owners, they've been looking for you. They've already been looking for you. You just need to learn how to get in the right room. Patrick, one of my uncles taught me this. He said, you hang out with the people you want to be in 10 years. Always seek to get in bigger playgrounds. If you want to consult, go consult for millionaires. Don't consult for thousandaires. Get good enough at what you do to get on their radar, get in the right room, show them what you can do, and more opportunities will come to you than you could ever imagine. And you don't have to go out and build an entire business and learn everything you need to learn to run a business and be successful. Learn the management, learn the entrepreneurship. When you're that good of a technician, you have just as many opportunities.
Yeah, you can hire these people too, right? If you've got that skill set, you've got that mastery in that area. Like we've talked about this book a lot in the past, Who Not How. It allows us to, we're that good, we can go and afford to attract some very talented people and not have to master that. The people that are running the biggest businesses, it's not because they're the best at the most amount of tasks. They're great at delegating and finding the best talent, right? That's the skill set.
100%.
Chris, let's go back. There was this, through our conversations in the past, I remember you had this year where I think you read like 100 books over the course of 12 months. That's a lot, right? I say like, that's 2 books a week, right? So what was Chris like before that? Is that something you would recommend? It seems like you're still calling on the knowledge from these books. It's rare that we have a conversation where we're talking business and you don't reference a book. Can you just talk a little bit about that time period?
Yeah. One of the things I realize is pioneers always die with an arrow in their back. There's no reason for me to ever try to be the first person to ever do something. There's so many people who've already been successful in every single thing I could ever think of. It's just like when you go, think about like back in the day when you're doing a lot of web design, you're a domainer. You probably had 1,000 domains that you owned, right? There's not one search that you're going to search in Google that something's never been searched before, right? So I stopped and said, if I really want to learn how to become wealthier, how to become more successful, or learn how to manage money better, why don't I just go learn from people who've already figured it out? So I changed my consumption. I want you to think about a diet. So, I'm on an interesting diet. I'm a pescatarian. I'll eat a lot of lentils. I eat a lot of almonds. I have to take iron pills because I don't eat meat, like besides fish. Like, I'm on a very interesting diet. And what I learned is when I was on American Ninja Warrior, we didn't talk about that, but around that same time period, in 2015, my dad died. My mom had cancer for the 3rd time. I got motivated. I started building a Ninja Warrior course in my backyard. And I learned at that moment, by the way, I had 2 kids by 23, got married at 21, and I drank a lot of IPAs and did things that everybody else did. And I gained weight during my wife's pregnancy and never lost it. And I realized at that moment when I started to go into American Ninja Warrior training and I got on the show 9 months later, I lost 50 pounds. I couldn't even do a pull-up, and I got in the top 100 in the world in the first 9 months. I realized that not just what I put in my body dictates how I look. I also learned that I had to put my mind on a diet. And I learned at that moment where I could be watching Netflix and I could be listening to podcasts and all these crazy things. But if I just channeled that same amount of energy that I put towards consuming really not great stuff that I was putting into my mind, and my diet was poor, and I got more focused on, let's go learn what other people know. Let's go learn what all the people that I want to be when I grow up already know. And if I could do that, I wonder how much perspective that would give me. I wonder how much of a leg up that would give me. So I gave myself a challenge. First thing I do, a little different than the average bear, Patrick, is I write my goals in permanent marker on my windshield, right up in the corner where the oil change sticker is. been doing it for years, and I want to hold myself accountable. I want to be staring at that every day and having to use that as a guide, as a compass to make better decisions. Like, all right, should I be, okay, yep, I see it. That's my goal. That's like telling me to get myself in action. So I did that. And as I was driving a lot, I just started listening to books on Audible. And I didn't listen to 100 books that year on Headway or Blinkist. I did it on Audible. I listened to them. I read them on Kindle. And I realized like, wow, I just don't know what I don't know. Now I have all this new perspective. Now I'm being able to learn how to think the way that people who've already accomplished what I want out of life think. And I just put myself on a mind diet, and it changed everything for me. I read books only on 3 subjects, which is personal development, success, and money. And I learned what all these people know of all the people that I want to be. A lot of people, I didn't even know who they were, right? When I read Millionaire Next Door, I don't know who that author is. I still can't remember who the author is, but I got to learn how real millionaires act and what they spend money on, and that they drive used luxury cars, which, Patrick, you know me, that's all I drive. Like, I got to learn about I also learned from Dave Ramsey and realized I have no interest in what he teaches, and he's great for who he's great for, but I have no interest in that. Like, I got so much perspective. Going back to the beginning when you said, who is Chris Moore? Chris Moore is a man with a lot of perspective. That's who I am. I'm somebody who is seeking new perspectives every day. I'm learning how to look at things from an omniscient standpoint, right? I'm someone, I want to learn how to look at the chessboard from an aerial view rather than stand there by a piece. And I think the only way to do that is to really open your mind, put your mind on a diet. Don't go listen to a whole bunch of podcasts. No offense to any of those guys, but you're going to learn a little bit about a lot of different stuff. Go learn a lot about one topic, become a world-renowned expert, and make sure there's enough demand for that topic to where you can write your paycheck for the rest of your life. So I don't know if that answers your question. Kind of went a little bit of a rant for you, but that's what I would say. But that one year in 2017, I saw how well my body reacted to my diet. So I put my mind on a diet, and it changed absolutely everything. And you're right. I reference books all the time. I speak for a living. I have to, right? Just talking to a really good buddy of mine, Tyler, over in the UK. And he's like, mate, I was trying a new AI tool. And he was like, tell me about this stuff. And he said, I found this book. My AI tool, Patrick, that I showed you, my sales tool, where you can have me evaluate your sales calls, recommended that Tyler reads this book. And I was like, I've never even read that book. So I bought it. Like, I need the perspective of this, the challenger sale, taking control of the customer conversation, the most important advance in your selling for many years. Like, I need this perspective because I literally pour in to teach. I teach salespeople every single week and every day. Like, like I don't need to be teaching them strategies that I'm just pulling out of my ass. Like, I need a reference base. I need to be able to say, not only is this the strategy you should use, but it's been backed up by testing and successful. I read it in this book. Here's the example. I put, so that's why I think reading is so powerful.
Your story and my story on this is very similar. I'm someone like you where constantly reading and constantly consuming. It's kind of like this beginner's mind where like, hey, we know that we have a lot of skills and that we've learned a ton of things, but we approach it as if there's always more to learn. I think we've both run into people that's like, hey, I'm an expert in this. And maybe that's true currently. And if that remains the mindset and you're not constantly seeking new information, you're not going to be the expert. You're going to be somebody who used to be an expert in this. So you have to stay on the cutting edge of it, and you have to keep adding new tools into your toolbox. And reading books, it can be frustrating as a coach when you recommend a book to someone and it's like, hey, this is a solution, and they're like, I don't like reading. I'm not a good reader. And
I can't invest into somebody who is not willing to read.
Exactly. Leaders are readers, right?
Learners are
earners, yeah, learners are earners, right? There's these sayings, and success leaves clues. And it's every single successful person that I talk to that's successful from business, reading is a part of their journey. It's so obvious. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I realized growing up, I felt like I was not a good reader. And as I read more, I got better. And, as you start to read faster and you're reading the things that are interesting to you, you are consuming knowledge at a pace that your brain stays entertained. And then reading at that point becomes a lot more enjoyable. And that's something that is, you just have to realize, like, hey, when you walk up a hill, it's harder than when you walk down. When you first start something and you don't have the reps at it, don't expect to be great at it. But that will change with what you do. When you started American Ninja Warrior training in your backyard, you could barely do a pull-up. and then you're in the top 100. It changed because of reps. It wasn't just because time had passed and it just happened. Like, you earned it. It's the same thing with reading. It's, if you want to grow your business, if you want to grow as a person, you're going to have to, there has to be a vehicle to take you there. And books are collections of people who have done great things. It can take them 30, 40 years to gather the knowledge, and it can take you, 3 or 4 days or a week to consume this. It just seems like what does a book cost most of the time? If you buy something on Kindle, it's less than $10, right? It's just like, there's never been a time in history where information like this has been more available. And there's also courses out there on this stuff. So if you're not finding ways to consume this information, you're going to get left behind by those that do. Do you agree with that?
I do. And one thing I would do is I like to upgrade my language sometimes. I don't like talking about money. I like to talk about resources, right? So I wouldn't even say reading. I'd say absorbing. Like, people who maybe have dyslexia, this is a real thing. Like, they're not very good at reading. It's painful for them. Figure out a different way. Everybody has different learning styles. Listen to books, right? And I think when you listen to books and you find a different learning style, something that works for you, it can be one thing that you're missing. Like, I don't know anybody in life who's extremely successful who didn't stop and say, let me go figure out how to be successful based off somebody else has already done all the pain and sacrifice, all the trial and error. Let's just go skip right to the success period and figure out. The only people I know in life who have been very successful have 30 years of struggle, and they finally got it right? You don't have to do that anymore. Like, that's so the old school way, right? You can go straight to success by just learning what successful people have done and learning from their failures and going right to the successful trials. Like, that's, I think it's huge, man. I think reading a book to me is like, imagine if you could put on, so Darren Hardy is the founder of Success Magazine, and he does nothing but interview and find out, just like Tony Robbins does a lot, like, why are billionaires and the most successful business people in the world successful? Imagine if you could just put on his glasses and you could look through his eyes and have his perspective and have his wisdom moments where someone blew his mind and he'll never forget that moment. Like, go read his book and you can have all that stuff. Like, it's just crazy to me that people don't prioritize learning more. But that's good though. We always need people to bag our groceries, bro. So yeah, no offense. Yeah, we need employees too.
For sure. If you're listening to this podcast, you've already probably self-selected as an entrepreneur who's growth minded, right? And the people that are bagging groceries, like, I've got all the love in the world for these people, but they're probably not listening to this podcast because they're not interested in personal growth or business growth and this type of thing. So Chris, you and I, we've been in this coaching program with agency owners now for about 1.5 years. And I know the first 12 months, our focus was really on trying to be able to predict success with our students, the people that have chosen us. And then now we've kind of opened things up, and you have experience prior to this, 6 years running an agency, turning this into a big agency, and then taking an exit. And then in our coaching program and all the years in between of interacting with other agency owners, what are some of the pieces of advice that we haven't covered so far on this podcast that you see the difference between, hey, these are the ones that are winning and these are the ones that are struggling? What would you tell somebody out there that like wants to move forward faster?
Number one, you're never going to accomplish everything trying to do it all yourself. I think the idea of having an amazing team, also getting really, really good at one part of the business that you own, I think that's the key. Like, we go in business acquisitions, we talk about all the time, like, we teach people not to buy businesses under $1 million in revenue, Patrick, because they're buying a job from the seller, right? And businesses that are under $1 million in revenue typically don't have middle management, and they don't have sales and marketing as a department, and operations as a department, and like financial and HR as a department, and you're buying underdeveloped businesses. So like, when you think about your journey as an agency owner, I think your goal is to build a bigger developed business and build it all the way out, and build it in a way where you're bringing people on who are better and smarter than you at all these different roles, and having that paradigm shift of, you don't have to feel indisposable. You don't have to feel important. You don't have to feel like you're the magic, because the people who get stuck at that plateau and never get past as big as they are, and they just have this lifestyle business, which doesn't really give you that great of a lifestyle. You're probably stressed out and don't have the time freedom you want, right? I think the difference between those people and the people who truly build an enterprise and build a multi-million-dollar business that has the ability to be sold and you can make a big cash out, has the ability for you to step away and go on vacation for 3 weeks and it's still there and thriving when you get back, maybe even better than when you left. And having a business where you're not building yourself into a box, but instead building yourself out of the box where you can truly be an owner investor. Like, I think the one key is the paradigm shift and understanding, number one, it doesn't have to be all about you. Number two, it's okay to not be the magic dust and the magic sauce and the only person with the answers. It's actually the opposite. You want to be the person who brings in people smarter than you, put them into place, and build a business. Don't just build yourself a job. That'd be my suggestion.
That's fantastic advice. Chris, what's next for Chris Moore with where you've got all these things going on? What are you really excited about in the future?
Well, two things. One is my equity partner course is about to launch. We'll launch it later this month at our event, as well as launch it next month. And I know that there's underserved market there. Only one person really, period, teaches consulting for equity, teaches it very different than I do. Very smart man, obviously, but doesn't do anything close to what I do. And there's so much demand for that. I feel like it's going to truly change people's lives. So that's number one. I'm very, very excited about that. Number two, I'm also just grateful for the journey right now. Like I have some destinations in my GPS that are guiding my turns and my decisions daily, but I also really have been appreciative of the ability to wake up every day. And I have my guiding principles, teach, guide, and mentor on my arm. And I feel blessed to be able to say, I am doing those three things every day. This is how I define success, and I feel successful. So I don't know. I have a lot of very specific goals and targets. Like I have some very specific real estate targets, very specific investment targets. I want to retire by 42. You and I talked about that. If you go over to my podcast, Searches of Income podcast, searches on YouTube, Patrick and I had some really good life philosophical conversations there. But I think what's next for me is I'm open to where the journey is going to take me more than anything else. Like I have quite a bit of things on my plate. I've got to be a good steward of the roll-ups that I'm in and the businesses that I'm all in charge of, all the people who've trusted me enough to let us buy their companies or buy into their companies that says, yes, we'll follow your lead. Like I take that really seriously. That's my biggest focus. But I think just expanding the way I can help people and seeing the ripple effect that's going to cause. Like, I don't know if you ever studied the ripple effect. Like when you drop a pebble into the water, the ripples go on forever. I want to get away from that. I want to drop a boulder into the ocean. Like I want to be in bigger playgrounds. I want to drop bigger rocks. I want to make a bigger impact. And I feel like the direction I'm going in and the stuff that I'm starting to teach that I've been doing for a long time is going to be a very big catalyst and help me get there. So that's what I'm excited about.
It's cool to see your perspective from what I can tell and from all the time that we've spent together. You have tremendous perspective, and to kind of see this mindset that a lot of people forget about of like enjoying the journey. It's something we haven't really touched on this, but it's something that's really obvious to me from being close with you is you spend a lot of time having fun. Like there's a lot of time fishing. You went on a trip. It seems like it's always family first with you, going to your daughter's bowling and taking them to Ireland for a month, right?
And then the beach for a month. Yeah.
Yeah. The beach. How are you able to balance 20 companies that you have ownership, 20 plus companies that you have ownership in? I've seen you show up for all, a number of these companies. And how are you balancing that and still being like making time for Chris? Like, there's a lot of Chris time that's on that calendar every week, and there's a lot of family time on that calendar. It's without a doubt you're finding a way to spend the time with the ones that matter most. And like, I think that's a challenge that a lot of entrepreneurs have. How are you doing that, Chris?
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to answer that right now because I want you to invite me back to your podcast. I want to do another episode just talking about that because I have so much I can talk about that. We're running up on our hour. Invite me back, man. If you're listening to this and you want to know the answer to that question, stay tuned. Can I leave you with one thing before we end?
Please do.
I think there's a paradigm shift that I had in my own life about 5 years ago that I realized may be the thing that propels me to the biggest success I could possibly get. Help me reach my potential. And that is this: no matter how high you get, how much success you find, or how much success finds you, I have this mantra of I'm just getting started. And I think it's so powerful because no matter how big or better or whatever I get, I know that there's so much more to come and it's going to get so much better than this today. And I think when you stop and say, instead of saying, hey, I did a great job, that's great, give yourself some affirmation and words of encouragement there and that a boys, right? But also say, I'm just getting started. Like, it allows you to wake up every single day excited, no matter how good you get, how much success, how much money, when you know that, wow, we haven't even gotten to the good part yet. So if I can encourage you to do anything, enjoy the journey, wake up every day excited, understanding that your journey is just beginning. And I'm excited to learn the next thing that I don't know today, because it may be the one thing that can help somebody else get to the next level, help me get to the next level. And that's what I'd leave you with.
I love it. That's amazing advice. Chris, if anybody wants to talk to you, how can they get in touch with you?
At Chris Moore Speaks on YouTube, at Chris Moore Speaks on Instagram, at Chris Moore Speaks on Facebook. Just DM me. I'm easy to find. That's the easiest thing. I do have a lot more resources and money than I have time. I can't help the world. The best way to get in my world is to be a part of my world. Like, be a part of one of our courses, be a part of Rank Masters. Those people have direct access to me. People outside that just don't, because I just don't have time. I can't help everybody. One to many is my only option.
Awesome, Chris. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Really appreciate it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to continue this journey with you. So thank you guys so much. That was the episode with Chris Moore. Take care, my friends.